Hi, welcome to Top Whistle, the Irish Whistle Review Show. On this special episode, I am reviewing not one, not two, but three whistles, all generation whistles in the key of D. I'm reviewing the brass, the nickel, and this really interesting one which has the funky green design aesthetics to it, which I really like, the boho whistle. The brass and nickel whistles will set you back around £7, and the boho with the aesthetics is about £10. Now, as usual, yes, there'll be a link in the description box for you to browse and to buy one for yourself. It'll be to the website of Hobgoblin, which is a traditional music store in Birmingham, and that operates in the rest of the UK, which I really highly recommend. They provide me with a lot of the music, and I would also like to extend a personal special thanks before I progress any further, because they allowed me to film on the premises of their shop in Birmingham, which I would highly recommend anyone to visit. And of course there is a link in the description box below for you to browse if you wish to look it up on Google Maps for yourself and pay them a visit. And with all that I've said, are the whistles any good? We're about to find out. After weighing the good points and the bad points, I'd have to say the good points are about the whistles are they're very cost effective and very dirt cheap to purchase, and the generation brands themselves come in a variety of 6 different keys to purchase, all for the same price. And the different materials that they use to make the actual body of the whistles do have an effect on the actual sound of the whistles, not only the aesthetics. For instance, a nickel has a more bright, sharp tone, whereas this one, the brass, I'd describe as having a more warm, rich tone. And I'd say that the boho is about a similar material that is used as the nickel, making it a similar sound by comparison. Now, the responsiveness is pretty quick when you're changing between melodies and octaves, and another good point is they're pretty much maintenance free. You don't have to worry about doing any tweaks to make it work consistently, and where there was no clogging issues, you could play these things pretty much non-stop with any issues. And the air volume and air pressure was mid-range, so you won't run out of breath playing. And it was not what I classify as a very loud whistle. It was neither too loud nor too quiet. And when it came to achieving playing the C natural, there was no problems with the whistles on any of the tests. Now, moving on sadly to the bad points of the whistle, there are sadly just as many cons as there are pros to them. I found that the actual quality of the whistles is inconsistent, and they vary from individual whistles to other individual whistles. For instance, I found that the brass whistle that I played, that was perfectly in tune, there was no problems to it, whereas I found with regards to the boho and the nickel, there was elements of it where they were very scratchy, inconsistent, and I felt when it came to achieving the high notes, it was very noticeable, especially when you're playing in quick melodies, which is not very good if you're a professional player. And of course, if you're someone who wishes to tune the whistles to a concert pitch, that facility is not there unless you really want to tweak it and do some jiggery pokery to it. Unless you know what you're doing, I would not highly recommend it. And I sometimes find as well, you have to warm up the whistles sometimes before you play them, just to make them sound a bit smoother, but it doesn't really have a major effect on them to make it sound better. And also, if you're someone like me who's clumsy, yes, again, the usual clumsy test. If you drop these or throw these anywhere, then these things will get easily dented because the plating is that thin. And with regards to the volumes being mid-range, if you're someone who wants to play professionally in a loud environment like a concert, you will struggle to be heard in a loud environment where people are talking and there's all sorts of noise going on in the background, especially if you're playing with a band. And also, it has lousy wind resistance, so if you're a busker, these whistles are sadly not ones that I would recommend, because this is not something I could see a professional player playing in a concert or in the outdoors. It just isn't suitable for those purposes. And it's just quite frankly not a professional level instrument. These are more amateur level, first time player instruments. If I was to give a score of the Generation whistles as a brand, I'd say I would give them a mid-range 5 out of 10. As mentioned before, the quality of the whistles vary and are inconsistent because these whistles are so mass-produced. There's literally a lack of quality control in the Generation brand. So that the whistles, quite literally, they're either in tune or they're not. They're either extremely good to listen to or they're extremely terrible to listen to and play. And if I was to score the whistles alone that I've played on an individually, I would say that this whistle, the brass, I would score this one a respectable 6 because this one is in tune, there was no problems. Whereas I would rate the nickel about a 5 out of 10. So to be fair to this whistle, it was at times in tune, but there were moments where it went out of tune. Whereas if I was to rate the boho, I would give this a 4 because this whistle particularly I had the most problems with. Despite the cool, sweet, green aesthetics, which to the average beginner novice whistle player, to even the most experienced one like myself, looking at it, you think, oh, this is pretty cool, this is lovely, I'd like to buy it. It's still, when you start playing it, it sadly cannot disguise that at the end of the day, you can't polish a turd, because if the quality control is not there for the whistle, no matter how beautiful it is, it's still going to be a bad whistle and bad whistle brands. So, sadly, as a professional player, I would not recommend a novice to, let alone professional player, to touch a Generation whistle brand with a barge pole, if I'm being completely honest, because they're just such poor quality. And you know, there are some potential good whistle players out there who could play the Irish whistle, but for novice players who may pick this up as their first whistle, I think it would seriously put them off playing, because they may be playing it correctly, but because the whistle's not in tune, it can put them off and you could lose a potential good player. So these whistles, for even beginners, I would not recommend them at all. I mean, if you want a good quality beginner whistle, then by all means get a Clark, which is a similar value to the boho. And if you want to spend that bit extra, then I highly recommend the likes of Tony Dixon and Timothy J. Potter, because they are very affordable whistles and they are in good quality tune, and I would highly recommend them any day of the week. But again, if you're one of these people who, like me, I won't lie, I'm a whistle collector. If you want to collect or buy a Generation whistle for whatever your reasons, whether it is cost or just want to fill up your collection of Irish whistles, then I would highly recommend the following tips. At my local music store, Hobgoblin, Birmingham, they have a bowl full of whistles. And whistles on a display stand to pick up, inspect, and play around with. Always avoid buying the cheap whistles that have plastic foils covering over the mouthpieces, which prevent you from trying them out. There is no guarantee that they'll be good quality. For all you know, you could be wasting your money on a poor quality whistle. Always play the whistle before you pay. Listen out for any scratchy, shrill noises. Make sure that you're happy and comfortable with the one you're going to buy. This advice is not exclusive to Generation Whistles, but to all brands of Irish whistles. At the end of the day, you should always ideally try before you buy any instruments to make sure it is the one that you want. On that note, I do hope you've enjoyed the show. If you wish to see more episodes, by all means, do hit the subscribe button. And if you wish to hire me as a musician for your future special events, then go to my website, www.davidcartmellpianist.com. You can follow me on social media like Facebook and many others. And of course, if you wish to support my channel further, you can make a donation to my channel on Ko-fi, the proceeds of which all go towards supporting the channel to getting whistles for future episodes, and the links to them will be all in the description box below for you to browse and look at. And for my next episode, it's going to be a top whistle making of behind the scenes special, and at the end of it is going to be a question answer session, and I would like you, the viewers, to take part in it. And to do this, just simply leave any question you want in the comment box below, because to me it's been an absolute genuine pleasure making Top Whistle, and the feedback has been pretty positive. And if you wish for me to answer any questions about what direction you think the show should go, to even just general ideas, to things like maybe future episodes of what type of whistle to review, you know, just things like what makes me tickle, what makes me want to do the episodes, to whatever, you know, just ask me any question you like and I'll gladly answer it by just leaving a comment in the comment box below, because a lot of what you've given me has been really positive and I'd like to give something back to you, the viewers. So if you could leave any question for the question and answer session in the next video, that would be absolutely marvellous. And on that note, goodbye and God bless you all.